Hello and welcome. We're working on our little plastic free dyeable egg slash chick today. So this one, all you would need is some size 4 cotton yarn, a 4mm crochet hook. You're going to need a yarn needle, some scissors, optional some velcro. You could attach the velcro with either hot glue or maybe some thread. And then if you don't want to use velcro and you've got these snaps, you could use the thread and the snaps as a closure, but you totally don't need a closure. I didn't put one on this and all of my jelly beans are staying inside. It is full of jelly beans. So let's go ahead and get started on her. So we're working with 2 strands of the cotton yarn. We're going to start out in our usual way. We're making a magic circle, so we're going to cross the long end in front of our short end to make a little loop. We're holding on where they cross. We're going to take our hook through the front toward the back. We're going to grab the yarn, pull it up. Then we're going to grab the yarn, pull it through that little loop we just made. So there's our magic circle. We're going to work down the side that has more strands. And we're going to make 6 single crochets in here. So we're going through, making sure we're not accidentally grabbing any of those extra strands. Then we're going to wrap the yarn, pull it up. So now it'll look a little different. We've got 2 loops made of 2 strands, so it'll look like you got 4 there. We're going to wrap and then we're going to pull through all of those. And we're just doing that until we have 6. So just keep going. We're going through the front, wrap the yarn, pull it up, wrap, pull through all of those loops. So once you have all 6, we'll get back together to close off our circle. Okay, we have all of our 6 single crochets there. We're going to take that tail, we're going to pull in the tail to close the circle up. It just brings the 2 ends together. Once you have them there, we're going to find that very first one we did, and we are going through there with our hook. We're going to slip stitch to join, so we're going to wrap our yarn, pull through where we just wiggled into, and then we're going to pull through that last stitch we did. So now to start round 2, we are going to chain 1. And for round 2, we're going to have 2 single crochets in each stitch. So we get a little bit more going on here, a little thicker. That's okay. We're going to work our way as slowly as you need to, making sure you get all the way through there. Pull up. We're going to go again, wrap to pull through the rest of our little loops here. And then the only difference between our regular single crochet and this one is that we're going into that same spot a second time just to increase our stitches. So this is going to take us from 6 single crochets for the round to 12. So again, we're just going in, making 1 single crochet in the next stitch, and then we're right back into that same spot to make our second one. So we're repeating this until the end. You should have 12 at the end. We'll slip stitch to join again, we'll chain 1, and then we'll get back together for round 3. For round 3, we're going to single crochet 1 into our very first stitch, making sure that we're getting through all the layers with that extra strand of yarn. And then for our second stitch here, we're going to increase again. So we're making our single crochet, and then we're going into that same spot again. And we're just repeating that pattern. So 1 plain single crochet all by itself, and then 2 worked into the next stitch. Once you get to the end, we're just going to slip stitch to join, we'll chain 1, and then we'll get back together for round 4. Round 4, this one's going to start off a little different. We're going to have a plain single crochet in the first 2, and after this, then we're going to start our repeating pattern. So the next 3 stitches are plain single crochets, and then in that next one we are going to increase. So now we've got our increase here, so we're going in, wrap, pull up, wrap, pull through both, then we're going back into that same spot, and now we're repeating the pattern of 3 plain single crochets followed by the increase all the way to the end. We're going to slip stitch to join at the end, we'll chain 1, and then round 5 is just a plain single crochet round. So go ahead, finish this repeat, finish the next round all plain single crochets, and then we'll get back together for round 6. Round 6 is going to be a decrease round. We're going to start off again with our 2 like spare stitches in the beginning that aren't part of our repeat. So we're just working one into each of those first 2 stitches. And now our repeating pattern is going to be a plain single crochet in the next 2 stitches. And then we're going to decrease after that. So we're grabbing the front loops of those first 2 stitches, making sure you're getting both strands of yarn. We'll wrap, pull through there. Now we've got just those 2 on the hook, wrap, pull through both of those. So again, it's just a plain single crochet for 2, and then a decrease, taking those next 2 stitches and working them together. When you get to the end, we'll slip stitch to join, but this time we won't chain 1. We will get back together for round 7. Before we start our next row or round, we are going to flip this inside out. Just take our yarn needle, weave these little tails on there, and just weave them in so that they are out of the way and safely tucked away. From here we'll chain 1, and then we are going to single crochet 9. So we're working 1 single crochet in each stitch for the next 9 stitches. So we've got our 9 single crochets done. For the rest here, we are going to be chaining. We are going to chain 10, and we want to keep our chains as loose as we can as we go. We have our 10 chains. We're just making sure that our little V section is facing out toward us. And that very first stitch we did on that round, we are going to join. So we're going through, just making a little slip stitch there. And then we're gonna just take our little egg and turn it. So now we're kind of working upside down from where we were. Those bottom loops, we're going to work single crochets all the way across. And when we get to the end, we're going to turn again. So go ahead and single crochet all the way across here. So we're at the end, we're going to chain 1, we're going to turn, and we're still working on the bottom. We're just going to go the other way. So we're making a second little short row here. So there are our 2 little short single crochet rows. This is going to be kind of like the part that folds over to close the egg up here. To get us back to where we want to be, we are going to slip stitch along the side of our little short rows here. So we're just going in and making a little slip stitch, and then 1 more right at the top there to bring us back up. Just on the side of those rows. So now we're going to be working in the round again, but our round is going to be around the back and then through the top of that little section that we just created. So we're ignoring this part, we're leaving that open, going around and then going around through the top. So that top part of our chain, we went through the bottom to make our little flap, and we're going through the top to keep the little circle going. So this round is just going to be a plain single crochet round. We're going to chain 1, and then we're working into the tops of that chain. And then all the way around the back, we'll slip stitch to join the 2 sides of the round. Just kind of tucking the flap down once you get there. And the round after this will also be a plain single crochet round. So you're going to go ahead and finish this one, join the rounds at the end, chain 1 to bring it up a little, do a second plain single crochet round. It'll get a little easier once you're done with this little fiddly part. And then we will get back together for our next decrease round. So for our decrease round here, we have chained 1. We're going to single crochet in the first 3. And then the next 2 stitches after those 3, we're going to work together. So we're just going through those first 2, wrap, pull through there, wrap, pull through the 2 on the hook. And we're repeating that to the end, and you will have a couple of little extra leftover stitches there, and you can just regular plain single crochet those ones. We'll join the round and we'll chain 1, and then we'll be ready for our next little round. We're getting there, we're almost to the end. So just keep going. When you finish this round, we'll get back for the next one. So our next round is just a plain single crochet round. So we're just going to do one single crochet in each stitch around. We'll join at the end of the round. We'll chain one. And then our following round is going to be another decrease. So go ahead, finish this one, and we'll get back together for the decrease. 2 more rounds to go here. This one's going to have one single crochet in that first stitch. And then our next 2 stitches will get worked together. And we're just repeating this pattern all the way until the end. If you've got an extra stitch at the end, you're just going to regular plain single crochet it. So if you can't complete the pattern, it's just a little extra single crochet at the end. Let's keep going. When you get to the end, you're going to join, we'll chain one, and then we've got one final decrease round to go. Our last round here, we've joined, we've chained one. Now we're going to be joining the stitches together as we go. So every 2 stitches, we're trying to work together. We might have that one extra at the end. You'll just give that one a plain single crochet. And then we'll be ready to close up the top. And there's just a couple more steps to go after this. So go ahead and finish that up. Join at the end. We're not going to chain one, we're just joining. And we'll close them up together. Leaving a bit of a tail once you've finished that last round. We're going to wrap that last piece of yarn over our hook and pull it through our last loop just to tie it off. Then we'll take our yarn needle, we're going to thread those on. We're going in one stitch, out the next, all the way around to pull it closed. So we've got that all threaded up, going in and out the next. Same thing until you're back at the beginning. And we're going to pull to close. Just bringing that hole all the way in so that there's no little gaps there. And then because we are going to weave in here, I'm going to go through. And then because we've got that little opening, we can kind of flip it to this side. Pulling everything in so we don't get any, or get as little weird pointy bits at the top as possible. And then we're just going to weave it in through the back. And when you're happy with how it's weaved in, you can just snip off the extra. And once we do that, we're going to turn it back, right side out. And we will be doing 2 more optional steps. So maybe you flip yours back out, you tuck your little flap down, and you love it. You've got nice stiff yarn and it's perfectly holding its shape. And you don't want to do anything else, you don't have to. If your yarn's a little softer, I found a white cotton yarn, it's really lovely and soft, but the softness is making it so that I might need just a little bit of Velcro underneath my flaps. So I'm just going to get 2 small pieces of Velcro, one on either side, and glue the other side to the flap and just be able to hold them down there closed. And then the last little option you have here, so there could just be an egg with a little flap in the back, but I find that the flap kind of lends itself to looking like a little chick, which is sort of cute. So I will show you, if you want, how to make a little beak for it. You totally don't have to, but you can if you want to. So we'll grab our glue guns and Velcro if you want, if you don't have to, and a little scrap of extra yarn for that beak if you'd like. And to make our beak, we only need 1 strand of our yarn. Our little beaks are only going to be 2 rows, so we're going to start with the slip knot, crossing the long end over the short, and then from the back to the front, pulling up a loop. And we'll just tighten that up a little bit, putting our hook in there. We're going to chain 1 more, so we're making chain 2, and then into that first one there, we are going to make 4 single crochets. So we're just working into that same spot. Wrap, pull up, wrap, pull through 2. I'm going to do that 2 more times. And then after this is just that second row. We're going to fold that little guy in half. Oops. And so we're going to chain 1. And for our second row, we're going to do 1 single crochet in the first stitch. I think my light's too bright. So we got 1 single crochet in the first stitch, and then 2 in the next. So we're going into that same spot again. We're going to do that one more time. So it's going to take us from 4 stitches to 6. And 2 single crochets into this last little guy here. And when we finish this one, we are going to snip off like a medium length of a tail here. Wrap our yarn over the hook, pull it through that last loop to tie it off. And just tighten that up. And then we're just going to fold that in half. So once you fold it in half, we're just going to take that little starting end. We're going to use it to sew this side closed. And then we're just going to pull it through the middle, just tuck it in and snip off any extra. So we've got our yarn needle and we're just going back and forth. And now that that's all closed up, we'll just go through there, pull that thread through, and snip off the extra. Now we're going to thread the other tail, that ending tail that we made a little longer, onto our yarn needle, and that's when we're going to use to sew it onto our little egg guy there. We've got our little beak all ready to go. The side that's still open, if your tail comes trying to escape, just tucking it back in there. We're going to kind of hold it closed so that it's just the 3 stitches on either side kind of lined up with each other. And then we're finding the center between the 2 little sides of the flap there, and then we're going to put it right in between that 4th and 5th row. So going in just a couple of stitches over so we can attach it where we want it. And we're just going to sew back and forth across both sides of the beak. So you're getting that row of 3 in the front and the back. And then going through the body of our little guy here. And you can always, because it does open in the back, you can always kind of stick your hands in there if you need to, so that you can grab everything where you need it. And then when you're happy with where it is, how well attached it is, you can kind of turn that inside out. So you can make a little knot on the inside to hold it on. And then you can just weave that end around in there until you feel like you're happy with how much you've woven it in, to make sure it's not gonna come out. And then you can snip off the extra, and we'll add maybe some closures there if you want to. So you could just leave this little guy without any closures and just let the flap be there, and once it was like full of jelly beans, it would hold its shape nice, and that flap would probably stay right where you want it. Like, it's not really going anywhere now, just kind of fluffy, like his little tail feathers are all fluffed up. But if you do want to add closures, I'm all out of Velcro, but I did use them on my little test guy. So I just kind of hot glued the 2 little patches, one on each side, just so like no candy would fall out if I put stuff in there. Another option, if you don't have Velcro or you don't want to use any plastic at all, would be like the little metal snaps. You could sew them on just kind of at the same points, right at the little corners, and then to the little flap. And then if we want to dye this, very helpful Lovely Soul on TikTok reminded me that if you wet them before you dye them, you can get the dye to stick a little better. So if you wanted to do like spots or design, having the cotton be a little damp would help you kind of achieve that a little bit more cleanly. So totally up to you guys. Otherwise, whatever closures you want, you can go ahead and dye this however you want. If you've got gel food coloring or the egg dye kits, those are kind of the best things for the cotton yarn I found to use. Anyway, I hope you had fun. Thank you so much for joining me. Bye.